Hey guys, it's Katie, and this is the Health, Wellness, and Chocolate Podcast. I just wanted to thank you so much for being here and just really kind of talk to you today about a couple of concepts, because I know Thanksgiving's coming up, Christmas is coming up, and for a lot of us, this is kind of like the most stressful, maybe overwhelming, and I think a lot of times too, like as a mom, our personal goals or our personal well-being, they often kind of take a backseat, and it's kind of like, you know what? I'm going to just deal with this January 1. Like, I'm not going to worry about things so much because I have to let a lot of things, I have other things to do, right? Like, and I can't I know we've talked about this too, like we have only so much emotional energy. And so if we are just overwhelmed with Christmas performances for the kids and concerts and plays, and then, not to mention like just holiday events and just like, random things that come up during the holidays anyway, besides the extra shopping for gifts and like decorating and getting together with friends and family and all the holiday work parties and that kind of thing. I know for us, a friend of mine is going to be putting together a class on canning, which is totally cool. And I've wanted to do it seriously for years now. And so she was asking like, okay, give me some good dates. Now for us, we've got 3 kids that are born in December. Our wedding anniversary is the day, we celebrate it the day after Thanksgiving. Even though like the number changes, like we always just pick, because that's actually when we got married, but it's November 24th. But like, usually we just celebrate it the day after Thanksgiving. So we have that. And then, of course, besides the birthdays and the anniversaries and the holidays thrown in there, there's always just those festival Christmas concerts and Christmas plays and just like the end of the year stuff. I sit on the board of directors for a nonprofit, and we have our budget meeting, which is literally hours long, like 4 or 5 hours long. There's a lot of stuff. And of course, it's a Saturday in December. So it's like, okay, there goes another one. So it's like life gets crazy this time of year. And so what I wanted to do this podcast episode was to give you some practical tools that you can take with you and kind of let go of guilt in case, it's not working out for you and you're like, oh, I didn't get to the gym, or I didn't get to work out, or we've just been eating such crap. I just had cookies for dinner, like I totally get it. It happens. And so I wanted to kind of give you a tool. We talk about a lot inside the Health and Wellness Blueprint, and it's called Floors and Ceilings. And so basically, and I know too on the podcast, we've talked about this idea of like black and white, all or nothing thinking, like we're either going to be really good or we're eating cookies for dinner and then breakfast the next day, like whatever we didn't finish, right? Like there's this black and white idea, like I have to be perfect or just out of control. And so what I wanted to give you was this idea heading into, the home stretch of 2021, heading into November, the holidays and on the chaos that kind of happens, is just this idea of like, what if I just had this concept of floors and ceilings? What's the minimum that I need to do to still be what I would consider keeping my health in mind, keeping my wellness goals in mind, without being militant about it or totally restrictive with my eating and not enjoying the holidays at all? We've had family members that have just like they were on the isogenics, which is like just all shakes. And they were on it like during Thanksgiving. So they came to Thanksgiving dinner and like sat there with their shake. And that to me it's not sustainable. That's not actual living. Like that's just punishment for a certain amount of time. When you get the weight off, then you're going to go back to eating the way you have. Like you've not learned anything from that experience, right? So what I wanted to do is just give you this idea. It's called floors and ceilings, or some coaches call it like minimum baseline. And it's just this idea of like, let's pick 3 things that if we can do every day, they don't have to be hard, but if we could do them every single day as a floor or like a minimum base, we'd feel pretty good about ourselves, right? And then of course on the ceilings days, that's like when we like have our goals and we're hitting them. We make it to the gym, we prep dinner, we make sure we take our supplements, we make sure we have time for rest or doing something fun. Like it's all like the health ideals that we have to like create this amazing a healthy and wellness balanced life, right? That would be like the ceiling of it. Like, these are my goals. These are my aspirations. This is what I would look like. Like, we do so much work about that, like your future version of yourself and what you would look like and what you would be doing. And then, but what if life is crazy in this season? But there's a minimum that you can do without really burning yourself out or overwhelming yourself or feeling like, forget it, black and white thinking, I'm done till January. So let's go over a couple things. So right now, I would say kind of pre-Thanksgiving is almost like the lull before the storm. So right now when I'm recording this, it's November 7th. No, it's actually November 8th. And so, it's not quite the full-on holidays. I mean, like, I'm still picking up Halloween wrappers from my kids when they're leaving their candy wrappers all over the floor. And I kind of joked, I'm like, can I count this as squats? Because I'm squatting down, picking up candy wrapper after candy wrapper off the floor because my kids like just eat them and throw them on the floor. I don't get it. I would never do that. But, back to what we were talking about. So if you had... if you could consider this time maybe like the lull before the storm, and maybe even sit down if you get a quiet moment and like maybe plan out the next 8 weeks or 6 weeks or 7, I don't know, however many weeks it is till the new year, and maybe plan on a couple of, okay, this is the the meals that we can have like on hand, or this is what I'm going to freeze and have inside the freezer. So when life is crazy and I need to just throw something together super fast, I can. And then this is what I have to have, gift wise, like maybe plan that out. So like all these things that you're thinking of aren't looming in the background in your mind and like kind of wearing you down a bit. So here's some things you could think of. So first, what I want you to do is consider your floor. Now, your floor would be what is the minimum that you need to do in order for you to kind of maintain your health and your wellness without feeling yucky. So I'll give you an example. For me, if I eat really heavy food or food with sugar in it or flour together, flour and sugar, for me, it makes my joints hurt. I actually have a hard time walking. And so I know if I am like at a party or we're doing something and there's like, like cakes or cookies, I'll try one, but I know in my head, like if I eat more than one, I'm not going to feel good. Like I physically will have a hard time walking. My body will hurt, my knees, my hips, even my elbows and wrists, like they hurt after having that. So like to keep my health in mind, then I would say a minimum baseline for me would be to make sure that my meals are pretty balanced and they don't have a lot of flour or sugar in them, which they don't typically. But, going to holiday parties and stuff, there's always that, opportunity for something to come up and eat. So for me to keep in my mind, like, okay, as a minimum baseline, I'm going to make sure that I'm still eating nourishing food most of the time. And that if I indulge and have like a cookie or I have dessert, I'm really going to have just a small amount, and not because of like weight loss, but just because I know it really makes me feel yucky. And I want to challenge you, like as you start to tune into yourself and tune into your body, you'll start to learn like, oh, when I eat this food, I feel really yucky after. Or, hey, when I had this, I felt so good. Like, and I think I've shared with this before, I'll have like a pumpkin oatmeal. I'll make it like at the beginning of the week, and then I divide it into 6 pieces, and then I'll just heat up a piece every morning. And it's pretty tasty, but I like it because it's satisfying. But the pumpkin is actually an anti-inflammatory, which helps my knees not hurt and stuff like that. So if like and it has cinnamon in it too. And cinnamon is also an anti-inflammatory. So I know like certain foods will literally help me not hurt, like will help my body not hurt. But then also, certain foods will make me feel pretty yucky and make my body hurt or make me feel sluggish or keep me up at night, and I won't really get a good night's sleep. So start to kind of ask yourself, okay, when it comes to eating during the holidays, what kind of food can I kind of prep for right now before it gets really crazy so that I have it? Like, what can I stick in the freezer? Tonight, I'm going to make chili, for example, and I'm going to make extra and then freeze some so that the night that the kids have extra play practice or extra practice for the Christmas concert and it's a late night, or we're going and doing something and, it's not like, oh my goodness, let's just get pizza again, or let's, stop at Chick-fil-A or whatever, like it's more structured, but it's also more nourishing and it keeps our health in mind. And then another thing you might want to think of is like, okay, I know when I go to the holiday parties, if I have more than 1 or 2 glasses of wine, I'm not going to feel good. Now, I don't personally drink, but I know a lot of times it's like we have a very big popular wine culture, and I'm not I don't drink because I just don't like the taste of it, and I don't want the extra calories. I also know when you consume alcohol, your body will not burn fat until it has digested the alcohol. And so I think it's like 36 to 48 hours after you have a drink, your body will not be in like calorie deficient fat burning mode. And I've always either been nursing or pregnant for like the past 20 years too. So it's kind of like not a habit I really got into. So it's not like a temptation for me. And so I'm not making this a legal edict or anything, but keep in mind, like if you're going to go to a lot of holiday parties and there's a lot of merrymaking and a lot of wine consumption, like maybe set a minimum baseline for yourself of like, I'm only going to have 1 or 2 glasses at a holiday party. And I won't have any during the week when it's just like a normal weeknight until like the next holiday party comes up, or until, and this is not me saying that this is what you have to do. This is just me kind of throwing some ideas out to you. So like come up with like a minimum baseline, or maybe it's like, I'll only have wine for this season at the holiday party, or, only have 1 glass or something instead of 5 or whatever, like just kind of keep your health in mind as you set these minimum baselines and go from there. So like drink mindfully, right? Like have a nice glass of wine. Maybe you're going to wait until it's like your favorite glass and it's like with a special dinner, and you're going to really enjoy it and taste it and swirl it in your mouth. And it's like going to be a whole experience as opposed to just like throwing back a couple because you had a bad day, right? Like drink mindfully, plan on it. And then, keep, again, those floors and ceilings, rather than saying, oh, forget it, I'll cut back on my alcohol consumption once the new year comes. Like approach it where like, it's not all or nothing. It's just, I can have some, and then, I'll plan for it though and be mindful about it is really what I'm just trying to encourage you to do. Also, set a minimum baseline for yourself of how much water you want to have every day. So maybe you could say, okay, I need to drink 60 ounces of water every day in order to feel really good and feel hydrated and help stave off hunger and help stave off the lightheaded feeling I get if I don't have enough water in my body, right? Like those are things you can totally plan on. And so one of my favorite things is just I actually meant to bring up my water bottle to show you, but I bought a new water bottle and it has like the times posted on the side. So it's like 8 a.m., 9 a.m., 10 a.m., all the way down to the bottom. And then on the other side, it's like 1 p.m. So like it gives you like a goal to hit every hour of where you want the water level to be as you go throughout the day. So it kind of like you can look at it and have a visual reminder like, oh, I got to drink my water because I want to make sure it's like even with the time. And then what I've been doing too is just putting a couple drops of essential oil like lemon or wild orange, I think is one of the essential oils that I got from doTERRA. And I've just been putting that in, and it's light and it tastes refreshing. It kind of helps with the boring taste that people complain about with water, but it feels refreshing and tasteful. And so it's like a fun way for me to make sure I like getting my water in. And of course, like right now I have my tea. It's hot and it's, right here. Always drinking something warm. Okay, so there's that. So, plan out like what's a good amount of water for you and then make that your minimum baseline. So maybe it'd be like, okay, my minimum baseline every day is I'm going to make sure I have a nourishing meal, at least 2 out of 3 meals this day. I'm going to make sure I drink enough water. I'm going to make sure I take my supplements. Like maybe that's it. Or I'm going to make sure I get enough sleep. I'm going to make sure I tidy the house so it doesn't feel overwhelming. And I'm going to make sure I meal prep, right? Like I want you to start kind of thinking about these things. Like what are some of your floors and ceilings? Another thing, and I just mentioned it too, is like getting adequate sleep. Now, sleep is so important for your hormone regulation. It's so important for your mood regulation. And if you're an emotional eater, not getting adequate sleep is really putting yourself at such a disadvantage, but it's also like making it so much harder to hit your health and wellness goals because your hormones are out of whack, and mood wise, you're not going to be on your A game at all. So, and especially this time of year with all the things coming up and overindulging in either alcohol or extra food and all those extra calories, it makes sleeping actually really hard to do. So I would say be intentional. And they have something called practicing good sleep hygiene. And it's really like setting yourself up for success and creating these nighttime rituals so that sleep kind of comes. Now I don't have a problem sleeping. People constantly wake me up. And I that's a problem, but I love going to sleep. Like that to me, like there's no pull for me to stay up late at night. My one friend, she's like, oh, the kids finally went to bed. I stayed up till 2 doing whatever. Like I could never do that. I'm in bed by like 9:30 and I'm sleeping. I just like to go to bed early. I'm not, but with the time change, I was up at 5 a.m. this morning. So it really just, it just depends, I guess, on your personality, but, plan out like, think about yourself, think about like, okay, how do I feel when I get enough quality sleep? Like, what does that look like for me? What would that be? How do I feel after 7 hours? How do I feel after 8 hours of sleep? How do I feel when I get 6 hours of sleep? And then like set a minimum baseline, like every night I'm going to get at least 7 hours. And then maybe a ceiling, so that could be your floor. And then maybe your ceiling is, on the weekends, I want to try to hit 8 hours of sleep every night. And that could be a goal you set for yourself for the next few weeks. And then another idea could be to move your body. Now, this doesn't have to be like boot camp at the gym 7 days a week. Like it doesn't have to be hard. It could really just be like simple, like I do, like walk outside in your driveway. Go listen to nature, get some fresh air, soak in that vitamin D. But think of ways that like even now, even in this busy season of life, like are there little pockets of time you can find where you could still move your body? You could still stretch. You could still maybe work on your core and do an elbow plank somewhere and, for a minute or two and just like continue to maybe not make a ton of progress right now because life is so busy, but at least maintain what you have. So think about in your life, what would a minimum be for you to be able to do every day for your physical wellness? And really, it's not, and I've said this before in previous podcasts, but like you really need to mentally separate out weight loss from exercise because there's actually little evidence that supports exercise really contributes to weight loss. But exercise really does contribute to a general lift in your mood. It helps you feel better. It helps you cope better. It helps reduce cortisol. It helps balance your hormones. Like there's so many benefits to moving your body. And if you are an emotional eater and you yo-yo diet a lot, exercise doesn't necessarily help you lose weight, but it helps regulate your mood to the point where you're not eating in reaction to a bad mood, which that will help, right? So it's kind of like an indirect benefit to help with weight loss. But you want to maybe think then, okay, what would a minimum baseline be for me during this busy time? Maybe it's, 3 times a week, maybe for 10 minutes, 3 times a day, I'm going to take my dog for a walk. And like, that's good enough, right? Like there's 30 minutes right there. And then maybe on the weekends, we're going to go for a little bit longer walk or a hike or whatever, right? Like, so start thinking like, what's a minimum baseline that I can continue to do to move my body and make sure that I'm keeping my health goals in mind without really kind of like being ridiculous about it. Or, I'll hit the gym really hard in January because I know my schedule will open up. But for right now, I'm going to do at least this. So that it's like not all or nothing, right? It's not like, I'm not going to even bother working out until then. Like maintain what you have so that January comes, it's not going to be like that much harder for you to get into the swing of staying healthy. All right. And then, that is all I wanted to talk to you about today, was just these floors and ceilings, especially coming into a busy time. Take time to kind of think. So the areas we went over were like, planning your meals, like, okay, what can I do right now before things get busy so that I have at least a minimum amount of some nourishing food, like stored away or at least planned for, so that, on the nights that life is busy, it's not like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? And then also, plan for a minimum amount of water, plan on some quality sleep, drinking mindfully, moving your body. All right. So if you find this helpful, would you please share it and then give a review? And then also, if you could subscribe, I know that helps with the algorithm and kind of gets this message out to more people, which is really the whole goal. I really want to help women stop being frustrated, with this whole diet mentality, and just like making health and wellness practical and easy to do with a lot of grace, so that it doesn't consume your life, but you can like live and really be the best version of yourself without it constantly being a point of frustration instead. So if you would mind sharing this, I would really deeply appreciate it. And also like and subscribe and rate it if you wouldn't mind. I would love that too. You can also head over to healthwellnessandchocolate.com. I have a free printable. It's a grocery list. And then I also give you 14 meal ideas that you can make in under 30 minutes or less that are nourishing and wholesome and, actually would probably be really helpful for you during this time of year. So go ahead over to healthwellnessandchocolate.com, and right at the top it says free grocery printable, and you could click on that and you can grab it. But in the meantime, have an awesome week, and I will talk to you next week. Bye-bye.